Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone. My name is Wasilatul Afia from the Faculty of English Department. Now I will present about the intrinsic and extrinsic elements of poetry. Before knowing what the intrinsic and extrinsic of poetry are, you need to understand the definition of poetry list. Poetry first. According to the Great Indonesian Dictionary KBBI, poetry or poem is a form of literature whose language is bound by rhythm, mantra, rhyme, as well as the arrangement of lines and sentences. Usually, poetry contains the author's expression of emotions, experiences, or impression, which are then written in a good language. Okay. After knowing the meaning of poetry, you also need to understand the meaning of the intrinsic elements of poetry. The intrinsic elements of poetry are the elements that build poetry from within. These intrinsic elements of poetry are further divided into two types, namely physical elements and spiritual elements. Okay, next slide. The spiritual intrinsic elements of poetry. The spiritual element of poetry is related to the spiritual aspect in reading poetry. In general, there are four spiritual elements of poetry. And here, the spiritual intrinsic elements of poetry, there are four elements. The first is them. Them is the main element in poetry because the them is closely related to the meaning generated from a poem. The second spiritual, that is feeling or emotion. Feeling or emotion in poetry is the poet's attitude towards the main issues in the poem. The expression of them and feeling is closely related to the poet's social background, experiences, and psychology. The third spiritual is tone or atmosphere. Tone or atmosphere in poetry is the poet's attitude towards the reader. Tone is related to the theme and feeling that the poet intends for the reader, whether it's a didactic tone, dictating tone, Robin tone, high tone, or a tone that seems to collaborate with with the reader. Collaborate with the reader. The last one is message or purpose. Message or purpose is the message contained in a poem. The message can be found by interpreting the poem directly or indirectly. Okay, next slide. Bicycle poetry intrinsic elements. The bicycle elements of poetry refer to the means used by poets to express the essence of poetry. In general, there are 6 bicycle elements of poetry. Here are some intrinsic elements of bicycle poetry. The first is diction. Diction is the selection of words used by poets in their poetry. Third is concrete words. Concrete words are words that allow the occurrence of image. Concrete words are imaginative and usually relate to figurative language of symbol language, or the fourth is figurative language. Figurative language are the use of language that gives life and connotation by using figurative language. The fifth is rhyme and rhythm. Rhyme and rhythm are the similarity of sound in poetry, whether at the beginning, middle, or end of poetry lines. The last one is typography. Typography is the appearance of poetry that is filled with words, left and right margins, and does not have line arrangements. Okay, next slide, or last one slide. That is the types of extrinsic elements of poetry. There are 3 types of extrinsic elements of poetry. The first is biography. Biography is a background element or author biography. The second is value element in the story, such as economic, political, social, customs, culture, and others. The last one is social element. It's the social situation when the poem was made. Okay, that's all I can say. More or less, please be forgiven. And if there is a wrong pronunciation, I apologize, because as we know, perfection belongs only to Allah Almighty. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.